We recognize that CVUUS gathers on land seized from the Western Abenaki people by European colonizers. We respect the Abenaki's spiritual relationship to the land and the waters of the Champlain Valley. Good morning. And welcome to this Sunday morning gathering of the Champlain Valley Unitarian Universalist Society. You are welcome here no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, no matter what your background. You are welcome here to join us as we proclaim worth in our spiritual journeys. You are welcome to join us as we sing songs that uplift our very beings. You are welcome to join us in community as we learn, live, and love together. My name is Abby Sessions, and I am a member of the worship team, and today I serve as the worship associate for a service led by Reverend Barnaby Feeder. If this is your first time with us, we would love to have you sign the guest book in the lobby so that we can communicate and learn more about you. If you need hearing assistance, you can get a headset from Richard in the back. And if you need to leave the sanctuary for any reason, you could take a headset with you and listen from afar. Not too far, but afar. I'd like to give special notice and thanks to Marnie Wood and Ginny Aschenfelter, who have not only graced our sanctuary with beautiful floral representations, but have also decorated the fellowship hall with centerpieces for a warm and welcoming environment in the Ann Ross Fellowship Hall. This congregation promotes a rich life of connection in addition to Sunday worship and social hour. Did you know that we provide an entire Newton time meal for the Charter House once a month, the homeless shelter Charter House, and dessert for community suppers once a month? And if you would like to participate, you could see Alan Moore, who is enthusiastically waving from the back row there. He's the guy to see. Did you know that there is a Unitarian Universalist path at the Spirit in Nature area in Ripton? Next week, you can join a congregational conversation at 1:30 to discuss potential new UU quotes to post along the UU path at the Spirit in Nature. And did you know that we have several small group ministries who've been meeting, some for years? And another group is starting on Zoom. You could see Helene Vanderberg for more information. I haven't seen Helene here today. Helene Vanderberg is the person to see about joining that Zoom group. And tomorrow, a group of us who are interested in how we can help to alleviate the housing shortage in our area are meeting for the second time. And Jean Terwilliger can tell us very briefly about a guest speaker who'll be coming to this group.
Homes First is a small, energetic group of people who is working to find ways for local people to produce small, very affordable housing for unhoused and underhoused people. And so they're working with the Hannaford Career Center right now to build their first small home. Monday at 7.
Tomorrow, Monday, 7 p.m. downstairs. You can find out about these and all the other opportunities by reading the weekly news blast sent every Wednesday by our office manager, Laura Asermali. And now, let us sing. Like I said, uplift our very beings with our songs. Our call to worship this morning is by Kathleen McTighe. You who are brokenhearted, who woke today with the winds of despair whistling through your mind, come in. You who are brave but wounded, limping through life and hurting with every step, come in. You who are fearful, who live with shadows hovering over your shoulders, come in. This place is sanctuary, and it is for you. You who are filled with happiness, whose abundance overflows, come in. You who walk through your world with lightness and grace, who awoke this morning with strength and hope, and who have everything to give, come in. This place is your calling, a riverbank to channel the sweet waters of your life, the place where you are called by the world's need. Here we offer in love. Here we receive in gratitude. Here we make a circle from the great gifts of breath, attention, and purpose. Come in. Please join me in the chalice lighting. Fire consumes and casts a bright light. May our chalice flame consume our regrets for the past, our fears about the future, and our worries about today. May it light for us a path of joy and peace.
Hi. So I want to tell you a story, and there's some photos that will go with it that'll be up on the screen, and I'm going to try doing it film strip style. Raise your hand if you remember seeing a film strip in school, or you were the lucky enough kid to actually crank it every time. So I'll be binging and we'll see how that goes. So, once upon a time, there was a girl. Bing. Her name was Maya Penn. That's her, giving a speech. But let's go back a bit. Bing. There we go. So this was Maya. She is around 8 or 9 in this photo. So Maya was a kid who liked making things, who loved making things. She made computer animations, she made art, and she especially loved sewing and making things to wear. She was also a kid who cared a lot about the environment, about our planet and how to make it healthier. She loved nature, she loved being outside. When she was 8, she would take old clothes and fabric and things she found around her house, and she would turn them into headbands and scarves and new clothes. Bing. People kept asking her where she bought them, so she decided at age 8 to start her own business, and she called it Maya's Ideas. So for a while, she sold her things to friends, and then she sold her things at fairs and outdoor markets, like the farmer's market. Bing. It went well, and she was making more and more things. Bing. And so at age 10, it was going so well that she decided that she was going to make it even bigger. So she moved it online to Etsy, which was pretty new at that point. Bing. And besides making really cool looking things, Maya made things that were good for the environment. That is called sustainable. So something sustainable means that it can keep things going without making things worse. It's also called slow fashion. Things are made carefully and slowly. She decided to do this because she did research and she found out that making new clothes really hurts the environment most of the time. It takes 700 gallons of water just to make the cotton for one new t-shirt, which is enough drinking water for one person to live 2.5 years. So she thought that was terrible, and she decided to make all her designs, everything she made, would be used, upcycling used clothing. So she'd take something old and make it into something different, using organic fabric and using recycled materials. A magazine heard about this, and they were running an article about kids who had started their own businesses, and they included Maya in it with a photo of her and her business. And after that, things really took off. Her business grew, she hired people, she started an organization called Maya's Ideas for the Planet that gave money to groups who needed it. She gave TED Talks, she got awards. Other fashion companies started asking her for advice on how to make clothes in a way that was better for the planet, because not a lot of companies were doing that back then. She even wrote a book. Bing. For teens, about taking what they loved and using it, like doing something with it, like she did. And I want to remind everybody that at this point in the story, she was still in middle school. Yeah. So now, Maya is 22. Bing. So that's her in December. She's still running her business. She's still using her nonprofit group to help others. She still gives talks. She still consults. And lately, she has started working on her own animated film that she is animating about bees and pollinators. So I want to end with 2 pieces of advice from Maya. Number 1, only buy new clothes if you really need to. Try to repair what you have, swap clothes with friends, buy clothes used or made from sustainable recycled fabric. Number 2, take something you care about, like the planet, and something you love to do, like make clothes, and find a way to put them together, like Maya did, bing, when she was 8. And now, let's sing the kids over to RE, along with me and Jess, and I think Nita's coming too.
We always have this problem that the kids are so fast getting out of the room that there's like 3 verses left and they're gone. Sometimes we sing them anyway. Sometimes we say, all right, the processional is done. And Ronnie gets to make that decision since she controls the music. So at this point in the service, you were going to see Ron Hallman from the donations team making a presentation about Church of the Larger Fellowship, but Ron had to go out of town, and this is actually something I feel very qualified to step in on. So we're going to start off, I think, by showing you this video from the Church of the Larger Fellowship, and then I'll explain why we're sharing our offering today with them.
We are the Church of the Larger Fellowship, a Unitarian Universalist congregation with no geographical boundary, working toward creating a global spiritual community, rooted in profound love, which cultivates wonder, imagination, and the courage to act. Adapting to the COVID-19 pandemic has been difficult for many bricks and mortar congregations. Early on in the pandemic, we were in a unique position to assist many congregations with the transition. We hosted special episodes of The View, provided advice and counseling to religious professionals, and trained congregations for live streaming worship, all while providing robust online programming for our members. From worship to covenant groups, from classes to pastoral care, and from our monthly magazine to our letter writing ministry. We have found ways to build connection and community even through the screen. We have been a model for ministry on the margins, providing services for isolated Unitarian Universalists, becoming a spiritual lifeline for our members in prison, and investing in innovative ministry. We know better than anyone how deep and meaningful connections can be formed even from a distance. Unitarian Universalists have faced many challenges in these times, and we continue to persevere and to fight for justice and equity for all people, especially during moments of crisis. We are proud to be a leader in this faith movement, and we invite you to get involved in our ministry. We strive to be a place where anyone from anywhere can find spiritual refuge anytime they need it. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Larger Fellowship.
So the Church of the Larger Fellowship has been around for quite a while, but it was founded in a very different era, basically to serve
We are
Unitarian
the
Universalists who
Church of the
didn't live near a congregation like ours that they could go to on a Sunday. So people in isolated places or people isolated by illness could have some services. And then along came the realization there were a lot of people isolated in prison, and they developed a prison ministry. I was able to work with them a few years ago on doing a course done entirely by letters with prisoners on basic theology. I was dealing with 14 prisoners in 12 states. So that was another form of outreach. And then along comes COVID, and as you could see, they developed all of these resources in their previous work that were very crucial to us in the age of COVID. So it's a great example of how planting a seed often grows into things that are valuable in ways that you don't believe. She mentioned in passing this ministry at the margins. They have actually, 3 years ago, underwent a leadership change that really emphasized that by bringing in a lot of people who came from different backgrounds than the average UU minister to lead the Church of the Larger Fellowships. And they have been leaders in proving that when we dismantle racism, we can also create better opportunities for growth in institutions that have been there for a long time. So I want to invite you to be as generous as you're able in supporting the Church of the Larger Fellowship this Sunday. Each Sunday in February, we will be supporting a different UU affiliate. And this has been one we've done every year that we've done this because it's so important to the larger congregation. Thank you. And by the way, Richard, I just want to add, it has over 3,000 members now, over 1,000 of whom are incarcerated people. While Lise and Bill bring the offering forward to be received, I invite you to stand and sing the words that we often use for receiving the offering while Abby receives it up here. Milestones and passages. First of all, I just want to remark that a milestone today that we are celebrating is our first OWL class since COVID forced us to meet remotely. The 4th through 6th graders are meeting over with my wife Michelle and Ted Shy as their teachers, and thanks to Poppy and the teachers for working so hard to set this up, and the parents for getting your children here. I know we have a number of parents in the congregation today because of Al, and it's just a wonderful feeling to get that extra little dose of normalcy of being able to start Al programs again. I received a yellow card from Lise Anderson. Over the Christmas long weekend, Miles and I were very grateful to be able to go to the church and fill water jugs, use the internet, and take a hot shower. A big tree in front of the house fell over on the power lines, and we had no internet or heat. Our 2 neighbors were out of power longer than the rest of Cornwall. This is thanks to this community for our building and its resources. I wanted to remark, some of you may have seen in the paper that Peter Conlon is stepping down from the local school board after 17 years of service, and he has a great reason for doing that. It's because he's the new chair of the Education Committee in the Vermont House of Representatives, and a big job, and he wants to be able to focus on it. So we're very proud of Peter, and congratulations to him for that move. My final one I want to share with you is I've been talking about the need to take this radical love giveaway spirit and keep it going. And I got a call this week from Molly Andrus, and she wanted to give us 4 tickets to the Heart of Afghanistan performance at the college this coming Thursday. This is a group of people who are in exile from Afghanistan. They cannot perform their music there under the Taliban regime, and they're going around this country acquainting the world with the music of Afghanistan, and also using Afghan instruments to do some things with modern music from other traditions, and therefore internationalizing and teaching about their culture. So that's at the college this Thursday. I have 4 tickets. They're asking for $25 contributions, so these are valuable tickets to have. And I saw one hand go up already, that Donna there, and if someone wants to get together with Donna, it will become more like a radical love thing if the 4 people who get the tickets end up sitting together. It's open seating, and you'll be able to share your impressions. So I saw Donna's hand first. I'm going to give Donna the tickets. Donna is at the camera. If you want one of the tickets, find Donna in coffee hour. Thank you. And there are always unspoken joys and concerns, milestones. I want to give you a minute of silence for prayer or meditation to locate where they are in your heart.
We have two readings this morning. The first is called Brave Space, based on an untitled poem by Beth Strano and written by Mickey Scott Babe Jones. It's an excerpt. Together we will create brave space, because there is no such thing as a safe space. We exist in the real world. We all carry scars, and we have all caused wounds. In this space, we seek to turn down the volume of the outside world. We amplify voices that fight to be heard elsewhere. We call each other to more truth and love. Our second reading is We Humans Are the Worst and the Best, and by Holmes Ralston III, also an excerpt. The two central questions today are, what kind of planet do we want? And what kind of planet can we get? We have entered the first century in the 45 million centuries of life on Earth, in which one species can aspire to manage the planet's future.
Thank you, Abby, for those readings, and to the choir for that beautiful rendition of that song in the Teal hymnal that we've never actually sung, to my knowledge, here in this congregation. And it's kind of a Taizé chant almost when you hear it over and over. And, oh, it is a Taizé chant. Well, it's better than kind of, it is. And I was reflecting that only our thirst leaves us onward, and it's not just a personal thirst we're talking about now, it's a collective thirst to figure out what kind of planet we want and what kind of planet can we get. And it's the first time in the whole history of life on the planet that has been the nature of the thirst. How many of you watched Richard's testimony to the Select Board Tuesday evening about the town of Middlebury's progress towards meeting its goal set in 2020 to cut its carbon emissions by 10%, by 80% over a decade? I know a couple of people were there and I saw it. I don't know if anybody else did. Richard did a fantastic job of setting up for us the situation. And in the first 2 years of that goal of cutting 80%, we've cut it by 40%. Now, that's the good news. The bad news is that the total of that cut, for all practical purposes, came from Green Mountain Power switching its electricity sources to non-carbon sources. All the things the town has done on its own, you know, buying an electrical vehicle here or there, don't really amount to anything in that cut. And we have to make the rest of the reductions by a much more collective effort, because Green Mountain Power can't get more electric than it really is, technically. I think some of that achievement, and Richard can correct me, comes from buying credits for other green projects rather than things that Green Mountain Power has done to actually change its own generation. But that's the way accounting goes in the power sector. The point here is that this is just another example of how difficult what we're trying to do is. And it's not going any better for most of us as individuals. I'm just going to reflect on myself, and you can extrapolate how that fits to your life. But I've been thinking more and more about being green, and the decisions get harder and harder in terms of annoying family members and things like that. Our son Linus is getting married next October, we got a question about sending out save this date notices, and they were saying there was some pressure on them to send them out by letter, and they thought we could just do this via email. And I'm just saying, well, email, definitely, that's the green way to go. You don't need all that stationery. But, you know, maybe someone in our future daughter-in-law's family really feels that this is the proper way to do it via mail, and there'll be friction over that if they press that point. I don't know how it's going to come out. But it's just when you start thinking about these things, they come up over and over. I've stopped getting peanut butter in jars, and we just refill the same thing at the co-op week after week. It's fine, but I have to admit that the peanut butter that we got in the jar, I like a little bit better than the co-op's peanut. So, you know, there's just like, it's just like little raindrop after raindrop of little choices that you make. After a while, you start saying, am I getting too earnest? Am I bugging the people around me? Is it worth bugging the people around me? And I imagine a lot of us are struggling with the same things. Some of it works out fine. Michelle is teaching Al. I just didn't feel right about driving 2 cars to church today, and I didn't feel right about asking her to come 45 minutes before or half an hour before she came, so I walked here, and it was fine that I walked here, but my morning was a little more rushed than usual, and I had this panic thing, if I forget something, going back is going to be a lot harder. So I don't say this thing to make myself to be out to be a saint in any way. It's just that when you really start thinking about these things all the time, it gets to be a little wearing on you, unless you've got some kind of spiritual foundation that makes you feel good about being oriented that way and allows you to forgive yourself every time you fall a little short. It leads you to what Holmes Rolston was saying about what the only 2 questions are and how you have to go about answering them. What kind of planet do we want, and what kind of planet can we get? And these become what engineers call a wicked problem, engineers and philosophers. And I want to explain what that is for those of you who haven't heard the term. A wicked problem is a problem that's either extremely difficult or impossible to solve because we can't know in advance whether it's even solvable, because we are getting incomplete, conflicting information, and we are facing interacting requirements. Working on one aspect of the problem changes other things, and so it starts to feel like everything is in flux. The requirements to solve wicked problems are constantly evolving, sometimes rapidly, sometimes so slowly that it's hard to notice. So maybe it will help you to think about it this way. Consider a really big problem that you hope to muddle through, like surviving a regional power outage. You don't know how long it's going to last. Or caring for aging parents. You don't know exactly what the problems are going to be or how long it's going to last. So what pushes you over the line from a really difficult problem into a wicked problem? I just suggest 2 things to help you identify when you're wrestling with a wicked problem. One, the looming likelihood of widespread, irreversible damage if the community doesn't act together. Second, widespread awareness that there is a moral element to how we act, even if exactly what the moral behavior is in dispute. So, in other words, no matter what you do, if you're realistic about looking at the problem, you aren't going to feel completely safe or guiltless with what you do. We're all capable of seeking psychic relief by looking away. It's summed up in a saying I once saw: no snowflake in an avalanche ever feels responsible. This is from the poet-writer Stanislaus Jerzy Lech. But deep down inside, when we hear this phrase and we resonate with it, we also rebel against the thought that our lives are meaningless and accept that we are capable of doing something with others to make a difference. So self-respect demands that of us. We can't really rest for a long time saying, oh, I'm only a snowflake, it doesn't matter. So we know our collective behavior toward Earth is deranged, and the climate is a present growing testimony to that. And we know that the Earth won't wait for us to clean up our act before it's wreaking havoc on our civilization and on all other beings. The physics and the chemistry of our planet are non-negotiable actors in our fate. That's the source of the title for the service of Earth Won't Wait for Us. But the other side of the coin, and the title for my sermon, We Can Live With That, is that we finally do recognize that our actions are global in their impact, and that humans are in a new stage of groping with and beginning to learn what it means to be communal on a global planetary scale. And there's hope that we can actually do something that, if it doesn't prevent a lot of tragedy, at least bends the curve sooner and makes for a lot less tragedy. We have some great material to work with, and it starts with our brains, which are so complex that the numbers used to describe it quickly start getting into the territory of things that dwarf the numbers that are used in astronomy. A single human brain has more potential connections in it than all the computers, routers, and internet servers on Earth together. Your cerebral cortex, a thin layer of tissue on the surface of the brain alone, has more connecting synapses than the number of stars in 1,500 galaxies the size of the Milky Way. One estimate has it that a single brain is capable of forming far more thoughts than there are atoms in the visible universe. And it's not fixed in a single structure like a machine. It can reshape itself to change its capacities. The word Rolston used to describe our intelligence is hyper-immense. Hyper-immense. In theory, we ought to be a worthy opponent for any wicked problem. So I found these numbers incomprehensible. I stumbled several times trying to figure out how to manipulate all the zeros and after the one and impress you and everything like that. And then I figured, well, maybe a couple recent news stories might help better. One of the things that's happened in recent years is we consistently discover that other life forms are much more intelligent than we give them credit for. One of the biggest mistakes we make is that we look at individual examples of these life forms when a lot of their life intelligence is collective. And we start to look at how they work as communities, and we say, hey, they're a lot smarter than we realized. Then there are other behaviors that show their intelligence at both the individual and the collective level. So I just want to give an example of whales and bubbles. Now, it's been known for a long time that whales collectively make bubbles and use them to herd their prey into smaller circles so they can hunt more easily. A very collective, interesting use of bubbles as a tool, and it's very intentional in how they do it. And there may be an instinct that starts them doing it, but they actually adjust their behavior based on learned experience. Since then, there have been other examples of whales using bubbles as a tool that have emerged, and most recently, whale windows came to my attention. How many of you have heard the phrase whale windows? Our animal behavior specialist, Mark, if you hadn't raised your hand, I would have been really disappointed in the faculty of Middlebury College. So Mark can correct me if I don't get it exactly right, but both collectively and individually, whales have learned ways to make bubbles on the surface of the ocean that create a calmer surface within the area of the bubbles than there is outside the bubbles. And they're called windows because they've learned that whales use that calmer surface to look through the surface of the ocean to see what's above it. So for instance, a human in a ship looking down on them, so they're trying to figure out what is my relationship to this human. So whales are making windows out of bubbles. I find this astounding, amazing, wonderful, and then it simply pales next to examples of human intelligence and what we do. Recently, I read, for instance, about the San Diego Bay Native Oyster Living Shoreline Project to protect salt marshes in which a lot of carbon is sequestered. So this is important for fighting global climate change. They have invented what they call baycrete, which is a concrete mixture consisting mostly of local sand and shells of farmed oysters. And they fashion it into large balls and they anchor it in the bay a little bit offshore. Well, this attracts a lot of local oysters, so it becomes a living seawall, and it makes waves break a little farther offshore and therefore protects the salt marshes. So it takes hyper-immense intelligence to analyze all the elements of this problem and come up with a solution that probably has some unintended consequences. There's almost anything we do has some unintended consequences, but it's a pretty good example of what Maya fended, heading in the right direction towards something that is much more sustainable and seems to work better with our needs to do something about what's happening on Earth. So it's not easy to refocus our hyper-immense intelligence away from selfish behavior. We have a lot of experience that altruism works at times, but we also know that there are huge issues in building trust that allow communities to keep functioning in ways that are healthy. Whole fields of psychological experiment on trust, prisoner dilemma, and things like that. So that brings me back to our first reading, Brave Space. Together we will create brave space because there is no such thing as a safe space. We exist in a real world. We all carry scars and we all have caused wounds. We're not going to get it right. We are going to make mistakes no matter what we do, and those mistakes will hurt us or other people. That shouldn't stop us from being in this space where we try to turn down the volume of the outside world, amplify voices we wouldn't hear elsewhere, and call on each other to more truth and love, to make good choices that seem to take us in the right direction. So the way I think about the bottom line of all of this is that the difference between us and as living things and all non-living things is that life negotiates with its environment. It aspires, it dreams, it experiments continuously with cooperation to see what works and what doesn't. All of Earth outside of what's alive doesn't do that. It's not going to wait to do whatever it will do based on how we treat it. But we can live with that. Because of our hyper-immense brains, it gives us room not just to live with it, but I think to thrive, to do things that make our lives joyful and meaningful. The flip side of not seeing yourself as a snowflake with no blame in an avalanche is seeing yourself as a small but necessary part of love-grounded responses to climate change that become a life-saving avalanche in their impact over time. There's a song we've sung many times by Mom Hughes in this congregation, and one of the lines in it I think is particularly apt to what I'm trying to say today. We live in an age of a great turning, and in this great turning, we can learn to lead in love. May it be so. Now, I know your order of service says there will be closing music, Buona Awabariki, but the choir did not have time to learn it. And rather than have the choir sing it guessing, we're going to save it for another week. And I will simply leave you with these closing words. Yes. Oh, I won't skip the hymn by night, of course. Sorry, thank you. Getting it right is a group activity.
So this is, I think, a new hymn to everybody. So the choir is going to sing the first verse for you once, so you can just listen, and then we'll sing 1, 2, 3. So we'll do the first verse once, just the choir, then join us. Make sense? Okay.
The words are up there if you don't have it in your hymnal. I've looked at that. Thank you, Richard. I've looked at that hymn for years trying to figure out what Sunday to use it. And I think this is the right Sunday because we have reason to be continually grieving with what's going on in terms of our relationship with the environment, but we also have reason to be continually healing and using our community to heal at a more rapid rate and to make love effective in the world. I invite you to take joy in the opportunity to do that and be happy this week. As you see all of those little things that are choices, some of which you make grudgingly, some of which you make happily, but all of which you know deep down inside are helping us pull together in the right direction.